Yeah, yeah. Making her way to the mic. They start dimming the lights. You start feeling alright. From Birmingham, home of the Teddy Longs and the Ruben Studders. More once you discover. For all of the lovers, Whitney Houston and Roman Reigns. For all of the lovers, and Mickey James and Marvin Gaye. For all of the lovers, and Sasha Banks, Janelle Monáe, Silk, Sonic, and Paige. Allow me to say, look, I just found a place, sweet escape. Every one of us, I was kinda lazy. I just made it off the struggle bus. Walking by the fate, cause I know it's right in front of us. Yo, I ain't with the hate, gotta focus on what's great. Ladies and gentlemen, Steph Hardy is on the air. Had to drop a couple bars just to make you all aware. So, sit back, relax, enjoy the show. You know I go by Joe or the rest of the flow, yeah.
Hey y'all, welcome. Well, before we even get into that, Lord have mercy, my screen has been jacking up. Welcome to a new episode of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast Extra with your girl Stephanie Hardy. I am so elated to be before you on this first day of Kwanzaa, the day after Christmas. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, happy everything that you celebrate within this time frame of the year. We done made it to the end, and oh my goodness, it is so good to be alive and to enjoy family and enjoy all the things. So, if you are watching me late at night, wherever you are, or if you watch me later, thank you so much for doing so because I know it's a busy time of the year for so many families, so many people. And if not, it could just be busy for you or you're just chilling for you. But either way, it's a lot to celebrate. And I just wanted to come on here and just celebrate one specific thing that happened on tonight. And of course, if you were watching SmackDown, just like Ed Fries was, thank you for watching on YouTube saying, Mellow, don't miss. So if you know, like I know, I am here to celebrate the man known as him, the one of one, Carmelo Hayes, friend of the pod, becoming the new and deserved, well deserved United States champion on an episode of SmackDown. Now, of course, there were some people who felt away because this was a taped episode of SmackDown and not a live one because this was on the holiday week. So, of course, all of the stars deserve to be at home with their families. But that doesn't make the win any less important and any less magical and any less deserved just because it was on a taped episode of SmackDown. And I wanted to come on here to number one, share my congratulations to this man because I have been supportive of him ever since I saw him on NXT and beyond. And I have been pushing and advocating for this day for such a long time. And so the fact that this happened, I just knew that this was going to be worth an episode on its own. I have dedicated two other episodes of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast and HWP Extra to this man and all of his greatness. And this just felt like the right time to do another episode about him because he is just someone who's just had an unlikely journey throughout WWE, but it's one that still very much deserves all of the credit, all of the praise, all of the awesomeness and all of the adulation that a man like him deserves. And I am just so proud of him. I'm so proud of him. And we're going to get into my journey with him as a fan, which I have talked about before, but it bears repeating because this is worth the occasion. So, of course, if you're watching me live, thank you so much. And of course, chime in the comments with you if you see something that resonates with you or if you want to chime in on the conversation. And of course, if you are watching this later, you can always comment on this later and then we'll get into it then. But of course, I am just so proud of him. I am so proud of this wonderful talented black man who stands on business and continues to raise the bar in his athleticism in each and every match. And it has not been an easy road since he's been called up to the main roster, but the journey is worth it. His delay was not a denial, like he said on tonight. And now we are basking in the glow of the United States of Melo. And it's really interesting because he is from Massachusetts, and of course we saw him get his start in NXT along with Trick Williams, and as you can see, Samantha Irvin, when she was serving as an interviewer before she became popular as the ring announcer on the main roster on Monday Night Raw and sometimes on SmackDown. But of course, we saw him rise in more of his personality alongside Trick Williams before he decided to strike out and be his own star. And these two became stars and essentially carried the NXT 2.0 brand. And of course, I'm going to talk more about his NXT stuff first before we get into his main roster stuff. But this is an amended version because, like I said, I have discussed him on at least two different episodes of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast. So if you want to check those out, then you are more than welcome to. But I am just, oh my gosh, just the growth of this man and the growth of him as a star is just absolutely phenomenal. All three of these people in this picture, actually, if you want to get technical, but this is about Carmelo right now. So, of course, there are levels of authenticity that we saw Carmelo and Trick Williams embody during their time on NXT 2.0, which eventually turned back into NXT as we know it now, where we saw them cut all kinds of spirited and authentic promos that spoke to Black culture and Black men and their culture as a whole. And then we saw them at Cut Wiz, which is, of course, the barbershop that was famous on NXT, where they would come in and talk jive like men do at the barbershop. If you are a black male, you know that this is the place where black men come and talk about different subjects, debate different subjects, and all of the above. And this, for the time it was given, was really amazing and revolutionary for wrestling television because you really just didn't see like something this authentic when it came to like blackness. And so the idea that these two got to be the front and center of it was just really beautiful. It was just a new way of cutting promos. You could tell that they were in their element and that they were in a comfortable spot as they were cutting these types of promos. And it was just really cool to see. Then, of course, you saw them, of course, just getting their humor on, especially in this haunted house, which was so hysterical at the time, watching them dress up like the bad boys, like Martin Lawrence and Will Smith. It was just absolutely hysterical. These two were absolute comedy together, which made it all the more heartbreaking when they did decide to, go their separate ways. And then, of course, you have Carmelo showing out in a match in a modern classic, in my opinion, against Ricochet at NXT Worlds Collide in 2022. This match, of course, holds a special place in my heart because this match took place on my birthday that year. And it is something that I kind of hoped would happen again, but of course, life would take people in different directions. But of course, Ricochet is doing his thing in AEW, and Carmelo is clearly doing his thing. And I've done an episode specifically about this match because of the special place it holds in my heart. And I'm just really and just and when it comes to mid-card championships, if it's one thing that Carmelo knows how to do, he did in this era is that he made mid-card championships feel like the main title, where he would always call the North American Championship of NXT the A Championship. Whereas it wasn't just a mid-card title, it was the title because it was on him. And that just made all the difference in the world when it came to his presentation and all of the above. So this presentation was absolutely nuts. Him and Trick Williams would match clothes and match colors at times. And it was just really great. And then, of course, we would move on to Stand and Deliver in Los Angeles, where we would see him and Braun Breaker, which is so wild to even think about, fight for the NXT championship, in which Carmelo, through nefarious means, would win. And I was so proud to have actually been in the building when this match took place. This match took place at the Crypto.com arena, but of course, in my heart of hearts, it will always be known as the Staples Center, which is the home of my favorite basketball team, the Los Angeles Lakers. And he dressed up in purple and gold and looked absolutely fly in it and proceeded to move on, have an amazing match against Braun Breaker, who he came up with, and then proceed to win the title. And I was sitting next to this little boy, this little black boy, and he was screaming for Carmelo. I was screaming for Carmelo. There was just lots of screaming going on. I lost about a good 30% of my voice that day. Then, on top of that, WrestleMania Saturday was taking place too. So my voice was just gone by that weekend. But I didn't care. I was cheering for all of my people. And lo and behold, he wound up winning. And this was me at the end of Stand and Deliver. I was screaming in pure joy. Pure joy. So, headphone warning. A very late headphone warning, but it's a headphone warning nonetheless. I'm sorry, y'all. Whenever I go to wrestling events, I scream really, really loud for the people I love. So, this was an amazing moment for me, and I was so happy to witness it. And this would be the first of two major accomplishments that Carmelo would make that I would actually be in the building for. Technically three, but we'll get to that in a moment. But I was just so happy this day, and then just so happy to be in a place that meant the world to me, as that means the world to me as a basketball fan, and just watching someone like him get his flowers, and then watching him get his flowers also at Wale Mania too. It was just a vibe, an entire vibe in Los Angeles for real. Now, as we move forward, of course, Trick Williams would break out on his own. And while breaking out on his own, and Carmelo would lose the NXT title, that would wear on his mind. And Carmelo let it consume him so to the point to where he sacrificed his friendship with Trick Williams in order to reach the top again, because he felt like Trick should have just stayed in his place. But in the midst of this feud, we did get a very historic moment the next year at Stand and Deliver, where these two would become the first black men to ever main event at during WrestleMania weekend, which was huge. And here again, another moment where I was so happy to be there in the building. I didn't go to WrestleMania that year in Philadelphia, but I did go to Stand and Deliver, and it was so amazing in the Wells Fargo Arena. Everybody was screaming. There was lots of emotion. Tensions were running high, but all the while you could feel that a new star in Trick Williams was emerging as Carmelo was fighting to knock him down. Then on top of that, you had the added extra emotion of Trick Williams being back in Philadelphia as a star, where once upon a time he played football for the Philadelphia Eagles only to get cut. So it was just a lot going on story wise, but it was absolutely fantastic. And I was very blessed to be there, not on the West Coast for Carmelo, but even on the East Coast. But either way, so that was an amazing turn of events, and we got to see more of a darker side, a vicious side of Carmelo. Back then, I called him Darth Mello because he was really getting his villain on. It was really scary out here. But then after his feud with Trick Williams, to get he would move on to get called up to the main roster via the WWE draft, which took place last year in 2024. And he would be the first round draft pick for the men. Now, the first round draft pick was for the women, was Bianca Belair. But he was third overall, but he was definitely number one for the men. And he decided to strike out on his own on the main roster and make a big swing by challenging Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship. And because I am a huge fan of both of these men, I was kind of conflicted, but all the while I wanted Carmelo Hayes to win because, bro, what if he does win the big thing? I said in a previous episode, the episode that I first dedicated to Carmelo, called "All It Is and All It's Gonna Be," and said that I felt like he could very well be on the level of a Cody Rhodes or the level of a Roman Reigns. And a lot of y'all call me crazy for it. I'll never forget that, but whatever. Opinions are opinions. But either way, he challenged Cody Rhodes, and it was a pretty great match outside of a couple of other hiccups. But we're all human. We all make mistakes. But it was a really good match, and Carmelo proved that he was here to play. Of course, Cody retained. But either way, it was an amazing start to a main roster run that had its ups and definitely had its downs. Being a Carmelo Hayes fan is absolutely worth it in moments like tonight, but it has not been a crystal stair either. So let's talk about the fact that on the main roster, he was in the King of, well, oh my gosh, not the first, but he was in the King of the Ring tournament in 2024, and he got eliminated by Randy Orton. And here again, this was another moment where I know I was cheering for him because I feel like tournaments like this deserve to be filled with newer talent. And in this moment, I really felt like, okay, Randy Orton doesn't necessarily need to be in this match. I mean, he's done it all. Why can't Carmelo have a chance? But of course, Randy would go on to eliminate him. But he did have a good showing up against a veteran like Randy. So it was cool. But a part of me was just like, man, come on. But, it was tough. And also, I have to talk about this moment right here, which is another beautiful Black History moment that put the wind in my sails. When it came to him being backstage with Naomi, Jade Cargill, and Bianca Belair as the big three. And of course, before everything splintered off into what we know it is, into what we know now, um, he was asking them if they were gonna go to his after party, and they didn't, they were not happy about it or whatever. But he was just like, "Oh, you watch my match though," because they mentioned that he had lost a match previously, but he was just like, "Oh, but you watching my matches though," and this literally healed me that week because I'm just like, look at all of this black excellence in one scene, one promo, and you got all of this excellence here. There is so much gold between all of these people, and I love all of them from the bottom of my heart. So this really healed me on a very deep level. So even though this really had nothing to do with him in ring wise, this just very much gave representation on the best, at the very best level, and I'll always appreciate that moment for as long as I live. I'll just never forget it. Then, of course, we had Carmelo qualifying for the Money in the Bank match in 2024, which took place in Toronto, Canada. And this was where, of course, he had a really amazing showing. His trunks were patterned after the Toronto Raptors, where he was paying tribute to Vince Carter, which he posted about on social media. And this was really cool for me. And I just really enjoy seeing his gears pay tribute to different things in black culture and also within basketball, where a lot of his references and stuff comes from. But this also has a special place in my heart because this was where I was able to attend WWE Media for the first time representing HWP and interview him. And this every time I watch it, it just brings me, like, it just makes me emotional, but not like, I'm not gonna cry.
Hey,
But
how are
he
you, Carmelo?
I'm good. I'm standing there with her, Queen Steph Hardy. Let's talk about it.
Yes, let's talk about it.
Now, of course, that is really loud because we were in a gym and the sound was not perfect because I was so excited. There was just a lot going on that day and I was just really pumped. And Carmelo also has more of a special place in my heart because at this day, we were all introducing ourselves at media, shaking hands and everything. And I introduced myself, and he actually already knew who I was. And I had seen him like some of my posts and everything, but a part of me just kind of chalked it up as okay, he saw me like tag him and stuff. But he actually knew who I was, knew my social media handles and everything. And I was just like, excuse me? What? That just really blessed me in a big way. And he was such a good interview. You can go and watch that on my YouTube channel right now. And I was rooting for him the whole while in this match because here again, I feel like opportunities like this best serve newer talent. But sadly, he did not win. But that's not to say that he can't ever win in the future because he's still very much young and he can get it cracking. So I was just so thrilled that he had this opportunity, and then him and Andrade had their little tidbit going on in this match as well, which led further into their rivalry, which we will get into. I know Jay Uso was everybody's favorite in this match, and if it wasn't him, it was LA Knight. But sadly, Drew McIntyre won, and to a lot of people, wasted his cash in, but that's another conversation for another day. But either way, this is also the birth of me calling myself her, simply because Carmelo thought enough of me to call me her. And if you see in all of my social media bios where it says her in all caps, he's the reason why. Because he calls himself him in all caps. I call myself her in all caps because he did that day. And he didn't have to feed into me that way, but he did. And that just blesses me every time I think about it. So that was an amazing, amazing weekend. Because this was also the weekend where John Cena announced that he was going to retire. So it was just a lot going on. But it was special for sure. Now, like I mentioned earlier, this fed into his rivalry with Andrade. And because Andrade was just coming back into the fold of WWE, he was seeking, to win more United States. He wanted to win United States Championship gold again. He had made his second WWE debut in the Royal Rumble that year. And so did Carmelo, actually. So they were really like, darting around each other, but not really being in each other's vicinity until after Money in the Bank, which led to them having a series of 7 matches, which a lot of people called, game 6, game 7. Here again, the basketball references. And I feel like these matches sort of belong up there in the pantheon of great series matches, like Booker T and John Cena, even though he was relatively young at that point, like Sheamus and Cesaro before they became a tag team. This series of matches here, if you are looking for pure athleticism and pure graps, this is a series for you. They ate down. Every single match they ate down. And then there was one last chance where they had to fight in game 7 to break it all up and break the tie, which was the rubber match. And whoever was going to win that match was going to become the number one contender for the United States Championship. Here again, Carmelo has been chasing this championship for a year now, a year and some change. And so they fought each other, but the special guest referee was LA Knight, who was the US champion at the time. And he wound up fighting with all of them because tensions were high, which led to them fighting at Crown Jewel in a triple threat match. And this was where it started to get more and more painful as a Carmelo Hayes supporter because he would get placed in all of these larger circumstances for gold and so many opportunities, and he would just always lose. And it would just bum me out. And I would just be like, bro, like at what point are we going to see Carmelo rise up and be the star that we saw him be in NXT? This man was an NXT, he was the final NXT Cruiserweight champion before they combined it with the North American title. He won that title, I believe, 2 or 3 times, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 2. And then he was an NXT champion. When was he going to have his chance to pop off on the main roster like a lot of us NXT diehards knew he could? And in this match, this was where he actually ate the pin. And I was just like, oh my God, what is it going to take? It was hurting my feelings. It was hurting my feelings. But the thing is, I am a loyal girl. I am loyal to you in the soil until I can't be loyal anymore. And when it comes to being a Carmelo Hayes fan, I am never going to jump off. I'm never going to jump off the cart. I'm always going to be here. So, just like Trick and Mellow Gang, I'm always going to be here. So, here, this was where he actually started a beef with Tozawa because leading into 2025, at the very beginning of the year, he was in the Royal Rumble and he came in at number 4. And I wish I had that footage because I have so much recorded from Royal Rumble weekend this year in Indianapolis. I was so happy to go and to see him come out as number 4, just in his second Royal Rumble. And I was just like, oh my God, what if he won? I was to a degree, I was 50% rooted for him, and another felt like I was maybe 50% delusional because this Royal Rumble for the men was very, very highly stacked. It had so many stars in it, and he was one of them, but he was still like I said earlier, relatively new to the main roster. So I'm just like, oh my God, what if he did win? But he would go on to get eliminated by Braun Breaker, who it seemed as if they were just strapping a rocket to his back, even though these two had came up together. And it was just kind of what's going on, like what is really happening. And it was just kind of heartbreaking for me at that point. But of course, Jay Uso would go on to win the Royal Rumble, and that would be an amazing thing. And the thing that kind of bothered me a little bit more was when WWE Unreal came out. And the first season actually showed like the first draft of plans they had for WrestleMania weekend, and Carmelo Hayes's name was on the board, only for him to not be featured on the card at all. But he was at WrestleMania SmackDown. But either way, um, in the midst of this, he started a beef with Tozawa because he knocked him out of the Royal Rumble just because he got mad that he got eliminated. And I Show Speed wound up taking Tozawa's place, which led to them fighting in matches on SmackDown in which he would beat up on Tozawa. So that was really the end of that. It really wasn't like a big feud or anything else like that, which kind of makes me sad because Tozawa was really one of the OG 205 live stars, if we're keeping it a book. And he deserves a little bit better than just being a comedic act with the Alpha Babes. And I love the Alpha Babes, but Tozawa was really out here being a buzzsaw for 205 Live. And he deserves his things for sure. But Carmelo did beat him, and he was a heel, and he said that he was burying him, and I was like, "Oh my God, Carmelo, you're being so mean." But that's where we were back then. So he would align with the Miz, and of course, the veteran Miz saw something in Carmelo, and he thought he could craft it within him and make him reach his fullest potential. And this was pretty awesome for a while. I did like their name, which was Mellow Don't Miz. And I really feel like WWE missed the boat on making a t-shirt that said Mellow Don't Miz because I just felt like that was crafty. But then again, I'm the type of girl that just likes different puns like that. So, a lot of people kind of felt like this was sort of like a death sentence for Carmelo, but I didn't see it that way because in my mind, I see The Miz as a Grand Slam champion and as, a main eventer and a guy that, for all intents and purposes, was not supposed to reach the top but did. So in my mind, I didn't think of it as, the worst thing in the world like some people did. But I was just like, okay, we'll see, still wanting better for Carmelo in the end. So in the midst of all of this going on, here again, another moment that I got to witness with Carmelo on the West Coast. I witnessed him win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal this year at the SmackDown before WrestleMania in Las Vegas. And I was so thrilled with this because, it was a lot of close calls when it came to Carmelo in this match, but he stuck it out and actually wound up being in the final two with Andrade, his major rival, which he fought 7 matches with. And I was like, and when it happened, I was sitting up in the booth like, oh, here we go. Here we go. And I was here for it. And I was locked in the whole time. And when Carmelo won that thing, I was so thrilled. I was just so happy, like, oh my God, Carmelo won. Here's a video. Yep, I was super thrilled when that happened, but I was still trying to save my voice because I was there at WrestleMania in Vegas on official capacity. Didn't want to scream super, super loud because if I did, everything would just be lost. So it was, but I was absolutely happy with him winning the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, which is a major accomplishment, even though people try to make it seem like it doesn't really have the highest prestige like it once had, under another regime. But this is still an accomplishment regardless, and I was just very happy and honored to be there. And you have the Miz standing there behind him, sort of cheering him on in a way. So this was really awesome. But then, of course, the next week they would celebrate with white suits on, and then the Miz would gift him with this really big gold chain with Andre the Giant's face on it. And a lot of people roasted him for it. They were just like, "Oh my God, why are you making him wear this ridiculous chain? Why is this here?" But the thing is, Carmelo rocked it. He wore it, for as long as he could, and then he didn't wear it anymore. But I thought, to me, I was just like, okay, it's the thought that counts. He gave him something to mark the occasion. And I mean, how many people can truly say that they have a necklace with Andre the Giant on it? Not that many people, but Carmelo can. And I think that's really rare. And it was just really nice to see sort of like their friendship blossom from this. But a little bit after this, we didn't see Carmelo as much because The Miz, of course, has his side quest that he goes on where he does different television shows and reality TV and, does movies and stuff. So whenever we wouldn't see The Miz on SmackDown, we wouldn't see Carmelo. And that was very disappointing because you wanted to see a talent like Carmelo on a consistent basis like you saw everyone else. So why is it that we weren't seeing him that way? Why is it that he made this huge accomplishment during WrestleMania weekend and we don't see him on TV consistently? It was very bummy for a while. Um, but of course, in the midst of Carmelo sort of trying to find himself, The Miz would come back and not like any of it. He would just be like, "No, you need to listen to me. You don't need to jump off and do your own thing. You need to listen to me," which led to them ultimately splitting up. And this was where I thought this feud could have been huge for Carmelo because here again, you have The Miz who can get really heated when it comes to playing a heel and being the bad guy, destroying someone. Just like he did when he was beefing with another dude from Massachusetts who we will get into later. But it's just the principle, like, how is it that we are sitting here and there isn't much that they were putting into this feud? It's like they only had two matches between the two. They would attack each other back and forth because The Miz wound up taking Carmelo out of the running for that United States Championship, and they would trade blows back and forth, but they would not fight past two matches. And that was very disappointing. I really feel that WWE kind of dropped the ball when it came to that feud. And they kind of just marked it off with like a promo where Carmelo came back and said, "Look, he attacked me, I attacked him, we're both even." And even though I understand that, I just feel like there was more meat and potatoes that they could have gotten into with a Miz versus Carmelo feud. But hey, television is television. Things aren't done for different reasons, and that's just what happened there. So, in the midst of everything else, we see the return of a certain Ilya Dragunov, who Carmelo Hayes has major history with when it comes to the NXT championship, because Ilya was the one who ultimately defeated him for that title. And he would come back after a devastating injury, I believe, to his knee, if I'm not mistaken. And he would bounce back and answer the Sami Zayn United States title open challenge and beat Sami Zayn for that title. And this was where, here again, I started to get bummed out because it felt like in the moment, Ilya had just come back from his injury and just got handed an opportunity. Um, and just skipped over Carmelo, who had been grinding and working his way back up to try to get these things. And you don't want to see in 2025 a black male wrestler who has all the talent in the world be given a back seat to someone who is also very talented but also fits a hue that people feel like is more marketable. You don't want to think that that's what's going on, but a lot of the time when it came to a huge discourse that's been going on over the past 2 years of Triple H's era of involvement with creative is that he has a tendency to push more Caucasian stars than he would black stars that are black men. And so this did not help the case in that moment. It really didn't. So, and then on top of that, you had Ilya adopt the US Open Challenge and keep it going. And then Carmelo would answer it one time and then lose. And then he would answer it another time and then lose via nefarious means from DIY. So it was just really tough. It was really, really tough. But eventually, and I do mean eventually this year, we did get our promises. Now, before we got to the promise of where we reached tonight, Carmelo did get to participate in the last time is now tournament. And I will say, I am very proud to have written an article with Daily DDT last year where I mentioned three people that John Cena should face before he retired ultimately. And Carmelo Hayes was one of my picks for so many reasons that I will get into later. There are just so many parallels with those two. Not even just both being from Massachusetts that I will get into later, but when Carmelo, excuse me, was put in the tournament, I was absolutely thrilled. But then when he got put against Bronson Reed, who is running around here with the vision, acting like they running everything, I was just like, oh my God, y'all done set my boy up. But thankfully, the vision was also beefing with Team Cody leading into War Games, which led to Carmelo winning via countout, where he started doing 6-7, which was really funny. And he wound up winning and moving forward in the tournament. And this is where a lot of people's hope was very much alive for Carmelo because they really wanted it to go to him. Because here again, he had been in so many great matches with different opportunities, but yet never could win the big one. And that would be a huge opportunity for him as a future star. But then he had to go up against Gunter. Big, bad, evil Gunter. And I really feel like this match was the turning point where people realized they really had to pay Carmelo a little bit more attention than they had been. Because the way he wrestled Gunter, you would have thought he was just as big as he was, if not bigger. The thing about Carmelo Hayes is that people make fun of his size all the time, make it seem like he can't be on top simply because he's short and all this other stuff. But here's the thing, what that man lacks in size, he makes up for in passion and grit and heart. And that's what he showed in that match against Gunter. Did he lose? Yes, he did. But he didn't truly lose because at the end of the day, he showed that he could go toe to toe with the best of them and with the biggest of them and with the toughest of them. Gunter is not an easy man to fight at all. Because I used to watch him in NXT UK when him and Ilya Dragunov and Pete Dunne and them used to destroy each other for the love of the game. So the fact that he stood toe to toe with Gunter in that tournament, even though it broke my heart when he lost, I loved him even more after that. So, and I was hoping and praying that somehow or another, that after that great match, he more would happen for him from that. And if it's one thing that John Cena's retirement has shown in the past couple of months leading up to the actual event itself, is that his retirement was 50% a spotlight on him and 50% a spotlight on other people who deserve that opportunity and that spotlight as the new age of wrestlers. And Carmelo Hayes is a part of that new wave. Obafemi is a part of that new wave. So Ruka, Javon Evans, Leon Slater, all of those people who were on that Saturday night's main event are a part of the new wave. So this was a stepping off point and a turning point where everybody started to truly believe in Carmelo and what he had to offer. And so now we're here. After last week, where he tagged with Ilya Dragunov when he was the US champion against DIY, he earned Ilya's respect, and Ilya told him backstage tonight, the thing that's been eating me alive is the fact that you and I did not finish our match to see who would wind up on top for the US title. And Carmelo said that it was eating him alive too. And Ilya said, tonight the open challenge is closed because I'm giving you another shot. And these men toe each other up. They toe each other up tonight. And here again, we saw that passion and we saw that grit come from Carmelo Hayes. And we also saw two beautiful spots from him where he not only hit a blind DDT. I know that's not the name of it, but for me right now, it's a blind DDT. And not only did he reverse um, a suplex into a cutter from the top rope, he blocked he blocked one of Ilya's finishers and hit nothing but net, and he did not miss. And now he is the new WWE United States champion. This is his first championship on the main roster. And this sort of almost feels like how I felt a long time ago, where I w- I am always a huge fan of Mercedes Moné, another Boston wrestler. And when she was in WWE, she would lose titles so much, so to the point to where I would lose hope and I would just feel like, man, like what's going on? But here again, holding on to the loyalty and knowing that I see the talent in these people and they deserve the world. Give them the world. And I have been one of the people who have seen pictures of Carmelo and, shared them in my Instagram story saying, give Carmelo the world, give Carmelo the world for an entire 3 years now. And now we are finally here and it feels so good to see somebody work so hard from the indies. Like Vic Joseph said on commentary at Stand and Deliver in LA, he went from a Casanova to a champion. And to see him rise from that New England flair, because I have friends in New York who saw him wrestle in the indies. And then to see him make it finally in WWE and NXT and win gold and now get to here. And it took a long time, but it's like he said tonight, a delay is not a denial. Now, of course, he would get attacked by Johnny Gargano after this, but that doesn't take away from his accomplishment. Um, a delay is not a denial. And he finally, finally got his things. And I almost sobbed tonight because every time Carmelo wins, I just feel a sense of pride in it. Because he's young and he just has the fire and the hunger. And when I see talent in people, I stay loyal to them and I just don't give up. And I'm just so happy that I didn't. And we are here in this beautiful era where now we are seeing him rise to the occasion and be who I always knew he could be. And just to paint to pi- the paint blah, to paint the picture for you guys. This was Carmelo's debut in NXT when he got in the face of Adam Cole. And Adam Cole, of course, this was him during his prime in NXT when he was with the Undisputed Era, raising all kinds of hell with that faction. And so this was where a lot of the newer people that we saw in NXT 2.0 finally kind of just come in before the rebrand and everything like that. And I saw him and all his braids and everything, and he and Adam Cole was just like, "Well, what do you think you have to make you think you could step up to me?" And and Carmelo Hayes said, which is very full circle right now, ruthless aggression. And he slapped the taste out of Adam Cole's mouth. Don't that remind you of a certain somebody? Mm-hmm. Another Massachusetts man who had the audacity to get in Kurt Angle's face and say he embodies ruthless aggression and slap the taste out of his mouth. Like, this is the kind of stuff that you cannot make up. And then it gets even better. The first championship that John Cena ever won in WWE was the United States Championship at WrestleMania 20 against the Big Show. And this was him when his star was just beginning to rise as the rapper that we loved him to be back then. That was his first title. And now you have Carmelo with his first title being the United States Championship. God is good. I just have to say that I know there are certain listeners who I know might not necessarily be of the Christian faith like I am, and I completely respect that. But I just got to say, man, God is good. Can't nobody write a story like the Lord when it comes to stuff like that. Both of them being from Massachusetts, both of them coming with the ruthless aggression, and both of their first championships in WWE being the United States Championship. Now we just got to send Carmelo Hayes to the moon. We got to send him to the moon now. But congratulations to you, Carmelo Hayes, for staying in the fight, never giving up, hearing us, the fans, and of course, being kind of spicy on social media every now and again, but at the same time, being as excellent as you know how to be and being as authentic as you know how to be. Being you. I'm so grateful. I'm so happy that I get to witness this, and I'm so honored that I even got to interview him even this year with the one question I got to ask him during Royal Rumble weekend, where I asked him, what's going to happen at this what's going to happen with this elimination? And he was just like, look, if Trick Williams comes in there, I'm just going to throw him over the top rope, and that's just it. So it's just amazing. It's a great time to be alive. Malcolm in the comments, thank you so much for watching. He's saying Merry Christmas, Malcolm. He said, speaking of NXT, I look forward to watching the Royal Rumble and going to NXT on the same day. Oh my gosh. Plus both on January 31st, my birthday. Oh, congratulations, Carmelo. Well deserved. Absolutely. That's going to be a power packed day because NXT is coming to Birmingham, and I'm so excited about that. Oh, to have been able, well, yeah, I love NXT. So they're going to be coming to the Boutwell Auditorium, which holds amazing wrestling history, and I can't wait for that. But yeah, it's going to be really cool. Oh my gosh. And happy birthday, happy early birthday to you. Malcolm, and thank you so much for supporting the show as always. So, of course, again, congratulations and Merry Christmas and Happy Kwanzaa to Carmelo Hayes for winning the United States Championship and embodying absolute Black excellence and being the future of professional wrestling in spite of so many other haters and dumb people who just didn't see it. I saw it, other people saw it, and we're here now. Now I need a 5,000 day reign. Thank you very much. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on the Hardy Wrestling Podcast live. Of course, no, you can follow me, your girl Stephanie Hardy, on Instagram and on Twitter at Queen Steph Hardy. You can follow the show, The Hardy Wrestling Podcast, on Instagram at Hardy Wrestling Podcast and on Twitter at Hardy WrestlePod. You can also follow the Facebook page, which is The Hardy Wrestling Podcast with the logo that you see up there. And of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel where you can get notified if you ring the bell of every time I go live or post videos or post clips. Please watch my exclusive interview that I had with Sherilyn Guerrero, the daughter of the late great Eddie Guerrero. It was such an honor to have wrestling royalty on the show, so please check that out if you have not already. And I posted my final article with Daily DDT a couple of days ago. I'm thankful for my time there. And if you have not already, read all 30 of my articles and we'll see what happens next for your girl when it comes to this writing thing, because I really did enjoy writing my articles. So we'll see how that continues to blossom. But the show will continue to blossom. Of course, follow Bianca Addison everywhere. She wasn't able to come on tonight, which made me sad, but it's okay. She'll be back later. Um, so yeah, what an amazing, amazing year in wrestling. So we'll just continue to keep the vibes going into 2026. But as of now, I just wanted to come on to celebrate my fave, Carmelo Hayes. And I hope you guys had an amazing holiday too. So, with that in mind, this has been the Hardy Wrestling Podcast Extra with your girl Stephanie Hardy. And until next time, bye y'all.